All right, everybody. Today we're gonna talk about the nervous system, and of course, including the human brain. All right, I have a wonderful video that I'm gonna go over and react to. Very well done. Let's be. All right.
The
All
adult
right.
human brain weighs approximately 1.5 kilograms, making up less than 2% of a person's body weight. And
This is a
yet,
very,
it defines our
very cool
humanity
video.
and makes us the individuals that we are.
It
The
it
brain is
shows the human
responsible
brain.
for the generation of
Let's talk about it.
language and thought, attention, consciousness, memory, and imagination. In order to fit into the skull and accommodate the massive number of neurons and connections needed, the brain is highly folded. This results in the creation of gyri or ridges and sulci or furrows. If we were to unfold the entire human
Now, the human brain is a remarkable organ. I think brains in general, not just human brain, but also animal brains, because this is pretty amazing.
brain, it would take up approximately 1 square meter.
Did you hear that? If you was to unwind the brain, it's gonna take about 1 square meter long. That's pretty awesome.
Perhaps the most impressive feature of the brain is the amount of connections formed between neurons. There are an estimated 86 billion neurons in the brain.
Let that sink in. 86 billion neurons in the brain, of each which forms an average of 7,000 connections.
Each of which forms an average of
Wow.
7,000 connections with
This.
other
Look at the
neurons,
structures right
resulting in between 100 and 500 trillion synapses within the brain.
Truly amazing.
In an attempt to conceive of the enormity of this system, the number of neurons in the human brain.
And you gotta notice how movies do this a lot too. When they zoom in to somebody's eyes, they reflect the universe. And this video just showed how somebody's eye was zoomed in. And look at this. That's the universe.
Has been equated to the number of stars in the Milky Way. Now that we have begun to appreciate the complexity of the human brain, let's begin to examine its structure.
So, when it comes to acupuncture, one of the main channels that corresponds to the brain is the kidney channel. Okay, just so you know. And of course, other channels too, like the heart channel. For instance, if you have heart fire, that could cause shin disturbance, which is basically, it could cause you insomnia. But the kidney channel is pretty much known, for the brain.
The brain can be divided into functional and anatomical regions. We will now start with an anatomical overview to establish a common terminology and to describe the areas of the brain. The brain has multiple surfaces. Here we have the.
Think about this for a minute. These are actually real brains she's holding right now. You have a cross section of somebody's skull and head, but those are real brain. And I'm glad that these people donated their body to science, because you know it's a interesting job, but it has to be done in order to help the human race going forward.
Superior surface, and this here is the inferior surface. There are also anterior and posterior aspects to the brain. Here's a section through the brain with.
See, now this is the cross section of somebody's head. This is the real head. Okay, you have the nose right here. Yeah, have the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe. You have the larynx, esophagus. Yes, and then you have the brains over here. Again, I remember when I was in anatomy class. Our desk was also a coffin, meaning that once we got done with lecture, then the professor told us to actually open up our desk, and there was actually a body in there that was donated to science, and then we examined the body and stuff like that. So of course the body was embalming fluid for educational purposes only, but it was an interesting experience.
in the skull, and we can appreciate the axes within the CNS. Connections can travel either towards the anterior pole, here, or towards the inferior end of the spinal cord. Fibers can move either rostrally, towards the rostral pole, or caudally.
Now, of course, she does a wonderful job explaining everything. Obviously, you can see these cuts was made with precision. This is precision, and this is for respect for the donor, and also it gives us a clear picture. A textbook picture. This is very well done.
Towards the caudal pole. Now, let's look at these component parts of the brain. This is the forebrain, which is composed of the cerebral hemispheres and deep.
So we're gonna stop right here. I just want to go over just parts of the brain a little bit. So anyway, as as acupuncturists, obviously we don't do dissections, but it's good to know anatomy, the human anatomy up and down from head to toe, because as acupuncturists we use that knowledge to help our patients get better. All right, so hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll talk to you later.